Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Convention Confessional. My name is Katy Hunt, and I'm here to guide you through the good, the bad, and the ugly of the convention world. And we are just a few weeks away from our 1 year. Yay! One whole effing year. I almost did it, guys. There'll be a big special coming out with that with a little help from some friends. So look forward to that on the first Wednesday of March. That's going to be the second. But right now, we're doing the final episodes of the past year, and I have Ryan back again. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome to Katie's podcast.
Here it is.
On a silver platter for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my
How are you,
goodness.
Katie?
Me? You know, thriving.
You're alive.
I'm alive. I'm here. I'm excited because we're getting more confirmation stuff on Anime Boston.
I
So
was
that means
about
that
to
I'll be
ask
going to a
about that.
convention at the end of May for the first time in
Wait,
like
so it's definitely happening?
as of right now, it is definitely happening.
As of recording this on February 8th, 2022, it's still happening.
Yes, Anime Boston is still happening.
That
So it's
makes
like,
sense.
okay, so we actually have to start to think about getting ready for it because it's the end of May, which I know is still like 3 months away, 4 months away,
But that's
but
still something happening. I went to one con last year, like
mhm,
around the time it was like the spring around the time that the mask mandates finally lifted kind of world like nationwide before they were all re-implemented. So
mhm,
there was like this 1 month where I went to a con and it was like relatively normal.
mhm.
I haven't been to one since then.
I honestly haven't been to a convention since Anime Boston 2019.
You're not missing much.
That's not true. I am. I miss everyone.
Well, you miss people, but
I miss doing it, and
the
I miss
con scene right
cracking
now
up.
is like super weird. So
Mm.
you know
And
what else is super
I have to
weird?
plan all of my masks accordingly.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna wear costumes. I have to have a
Yeah.
mask that matches. I'm not gonna wear a generic mask. Like, hello, cosplayer, duh.
Well, yeah, that's what they've been doing on all the cosplay sites. If I start like coughing in this, it's not because I have COVID. It's because I ate something that is now making my throat super phlegmy, and I'm trying to discreetly like cough away from the microphone.
Right in the middle of talking, and Ryan starts choking. It's like it's fine. This
Yeah, but
feels right.
dude, oh my god! But it kind of brings me back to like if you're on stage and you feel that phlegm in your throat, you know you have a line coming up, and you
Mm.
have to discreetly like clear your throat, but you can't do it calmly. So you're like in the corner, being like.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, you go behind like a set piece and you're just like
And of course, that's the time that you're body mic'd. So it's like, great, great. Turn my mic off. Turn my fucking mic off.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's there's a lot of demand on actors when you're live and you're like you cannot have any bodily functions when you're on stage. No burping, no coughing, no farting, no
Yeah,
like
nothing.
yeah, you can't sneeze. If you feel any of these things coming on, if you feel sick, oh, you can't puke either. You have to fucking shut that shit down.
Yeah, you literally have to be like, oh, a hat. Bleh, we're going.
Oh my god.
Well,
Well,
speaking of performing on stage, Ryan, what's brought you here today?
so Katie has
Mm.
brought me on to talk about a very infamous part of my life. I would say many of our friends' lives.
It's true. I
Which
missed this whole fad.
you were like, okay, you barely missed this, like by like a month.
I feel like
I made
a bullet was dodged.
well, okay. I guess I'll preface it by saying that I was part of a cosplay musical for 3 years
Sorry.
consecutively. I know you're already laughing. Are you-
It's just it's like, oh god. It sounds like a good idea until
It
you see it.
probably is. It probably is done well somewhere, but okay. You know what? I'm already hopping into this negatively, and I feel like that's not fair to the people who did try, including some of the
Okay, the
including
people that did try were our friends. They understand.
yeah, yeah. And then honestly, there were some cast members that weren't very good, but I can honestly say they were trying.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Here's the thing. it's not a professional musical, so it's really fans that have taken some theater classes or have wanted to take some theater classes or have done theater exclusively through conventions,
You see, you're
putting on
laughing.
a massive show. What? I
Well, you
can't
just
help
said that and you laughed. You're like, took classes.
We're not gonna make it through
You're
this.
not gonna make it. Like the
Okay.
next hour is just gonna be laughing. Sorry.
I did just eat, so I have a lot of energy. There's a
Mm,
little phlegm in my throat,
mhm. It's gonna be at night.
Okay, so this musical was called Kineticon the Musical. It was
How
part of
original.
Kineticon. Well, you know what? Everything was called Kineticon something back then, like
It's
Kineticon
true. It
Fest,
was.
Kineticon Masquerade. But before I was on staff for Kineticon, I was part of a musical. This is actually how I got to be on staff, was because I was part of it. And
Hmm.
the musical lasted like I think 5 years. It's either it was 5 and 6 years or it was 4 and 5 years. All I know is that the final year is they got canceled and I think they did it on YouTube instead, which is a whole other story. So okay, so like I guess I'll just start from year one.
That makes
So
sense.
you're gonna die because you don't even know. I somehow an entire friendship. We've never actually talked about the origin of this. I've told you a little bit of the show you did see that you walked out on
Okay, but to preface, so I have an idea of where we're running from. 2008 was what year?
of the musicals.
Yes.
It was the third musical,
Okay, so I saw the third musical. Okay, continue. So you're gonna talk about the first one. Got it.
right? Well, because that's where it started, and so
Yes.
there was this group of people in 2007. No, it was 2006. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. So 2006, and they were putting on a musical at Kineticon. I had never been to Kineticon. I was going for the first time. But it was during that period of time that people communicated about conventions primarily through the convention's message boards. And so
Forums.
but I was just in a skit at Anime Boston, ironically, in 2006 through like people that were looking for cosplayers on this message board. By the way, I was cosplaying Kakashi from Naruto
It
for
sure was.
for Anime Boston.
Mm.
I saw maybe 20 episodes of Naruto in my life still. I tried. I really gave it a try, but there was like somewhere around episodes 10 and 15 where they were trying to cross a bridge and there was some drama about crossing the bridge and they never like it took 5 episodes for them to like get across the bridge and I was like, I don't know if I have this in me. So, but I understand that those kinds of animes are designed to just keep going. So anyway, so I was playing Kakashi, which I barely knew anything about, in this masquerade skit for Anime Boston, and it went over well. But one of the girls in it, she was involved with the Kineticon musical that was going to be happening at Kineticon, and I was like, "Oh, I plan on going to Kineticon. Let me know if you need any help." So I didn't. That first year, I wasn't like a major part. They asked if I could like be the host, and I was going to play Yuki from Gravitation.
Hmm.
Well, my friend Rachel played Soma. Rachel and I are still good friends. I just saw her at Disney World a few months ago. Um, and oh, not Soma, Toma. What the fuck is that character's name that wears the hat?
Toma.
Okay, that's Toma. Thank God, thank God you're able to. I just said generically, what's that character who wears a hat?
Oh well, the guy with the hat. I mean, I don't know. You literally said his name and then said you didn't know his name. Lock it up.
Waldo. Uh,
Oh my
anyway,
god.
so this first year, they said I had minimal communication with them. Like I
Perfect.
was already going to be in a skit for the masquerade with people that I met on the Connecticut message boards, and my friend who was in the show was like, okay, I'm gonna put you in touch with them. So I talked to. I honestly don't know who the fuck I talked to in retrospect. Like I don't remember. Which is just like another. It was very disorganized. There wasn't like any like core. I think there were two directors. And anyway, I'm sure Jess is gonna listen to this and be like, "This is what happened, Ryan. You're ruining it already."
Or she's more like, oh god, you're actually going to talk about this? Great.
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, and she's
Right.
probably I can hear her audibly groaning right now. Hi, Jess. I know you're listening.
Hey.
Hey. Okay, so anyway,
Mm,
I was brought in to host along Rachel, and I was given some kind of script question mark beforehand. It was I don't know what it was. It was like a bunch of pieces of paper that was sent to me on email that was spaced really weirdly, and I couldn't tell like what were scenes of what was singing. So I was like, okay, I'll just figure it out when I get there because I wanted to be involved. I was getting really into like doing the show stuff. Like I was doing theater like at the cons and outside of the cons, and it just felt like it was the right move for me to
Hmm.
just get some experience. So um I had the worst wig as Yuki. It didn't look anything like Yuki. And I showed up, I think dressed as Axel before the show started just to meet everyone. And we did like a rehearsal in the parking garage in which I don't really remember much of that. I just remember being like, does anybody know the dances or the choreography? It kind of seemed to me that it was a bunch of masquerade skits that were being put together or sewn together at the last second. But I do think that they did practice it
Why do
beforehand.
I feel like everybody always practiced in that parking garage?
It's better than when we used to practice in like the anime Boston hallway, like in the hotel.
Oh, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, I remember you and I have done like masquerade stuff in that parking garage. At one point, I definitely, the first skit that I ever did at ConnectiCon, definitely rehearsed it in that parking garage. Like,
I feel like this is just like a rite of passage if you're going to any kind of convention is that you have to go to the parking lot or parking garage and practice your skit out there because there's literally nowhere else to do it. So
hmm,
it's kind of funny because you're like also gonna compete with other people and you're all like, don't let them know. And you're outside in public with like your car
ribbons,
blasting the sound full blast, and you're
your
obviously
ribbons
not
and
just
your
exact
flowers and your
and your costumes, which are obviously like not normal. Uh,
or
anyway,
finished.
although I guess you would blend in with everybody. So anyway, so I showed up to this musical and I met everybody. We were outside waiting outside the panel to go inside that room to perform it. And there's not a lot to tell here other than they said that they said beforehand they were like, we're lip syncing the whole show. We're just gonna lip sync along to like this boombox that we brought. And I was like, okay, fine. And so they had me singing like the very first opening number from a chorus line as Yuki, where it's like da 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 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it was. I don't remember how it goes.
Oh,
And they were
chorus line? All right, we're going to face the mirrors.
yeah, except this was actually really smart. I liked what they did here. They had like DDR mats and they were doing like a choreographed like DDR thing while I was gonna scream at them to do the moves. Honestly, pretty brilliant for a nerd convention. Loved it. Um so I lip synced like all those opening lyrics as Yuki, and then like the music cues up after I'm like a 5, 6, 7, 8, but I don't say it. I'm lip syncing, right? And then I walk off stage, and then they turn around and they start actually singing.
So they just didn't want you to sing.
No, they just okay, Drea. Afterwards, I was like, I thought we were lip syncing this, and Drea goes, "Yeah, we forgot to tell you that we weren't."
That.
It was like really stupid. Um, and so like I don't really know what happened there, but it was fine. I mean, they hadn't heard me sing, so there's no way they would have been able to judge if I could or could not sing. Uh, but that was it. That was like my big memory of it. I can't say that any of them could sing either, honestly, but like that's not a fair judgment for me to make at that time.
Will not
So
confirm nor deny.
no, okay, so I don't. Okay, so this is where things get fucking crazy. So
Mm.
so I did that show, and it was kind of like just a bunch of masquerade skits sewn together.
Yeah, okay, but wait, I have questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the plot?
Okay, so the first year didn't have a plot.
No!
No, I'm telling you, it was just a masquerade
Oh
where
my
they were doing
god,
their own
wait, so it
skits.
was literally like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, where it was just like vignettes.
Okay, it was. It was literally like Yuki and Toma hosting a show together for a reason I don't remember why.
Uh-huh.
And with interjections of this girl playing Shuichi and her just shrieking the entire time. And I was like, that was it. And then they were like, Ryan, it's your job to like make fun of the skits in between all the skits. And like, so we would announce what each, like, they were basically musical numbers that were like parodies with certain characters, except
So
the
you guys did
parodies,
anime Hell Live?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except the parodies didn't necessarily make a lot of sense.
No.
Some did. Although the one that didn't make any sense at all was one where our friend was playing like sexy Kakashi to a virgin with what's his name? Aruki? Is that his name? And like hitting on him. And it didn't make any sense, but at least it was funny. So like she carried that considering like it made no sense. So good on her. I honestly
So, good job. Snap, snap.
that's
Like,
like the one I have a video of this whole show, and that's probably my favorite number. So anyway, so I somehow got involved with it a little bit more so because I was going through this phase where I decided that I was going to get really involved with the people from this musical, and I started hanging out with them outside of the con all the time. It wasn't my smartest move, but also like not against them, but just because I was kind of abandoning my old friends group that I had known forever to just go hang out with a bunch of strangers from a sort of musical.
mhm.
And at some point, I don't know how it even happened because my memory of 2007 is really foggy. It's the time that we don't speak of, Katie. Uh, but basically, like at some point, I got elected as the director of the show, and the other girl that was directing it stepped down. I don't remember the reasoning for it. I remember there being a lot of infighting between like the script writer and because the second year it did have a script. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, so there was like a little infighting between like the script director and or script director, script writer, the director, and somebody else, and then somehow I wound up directing the show alongside Jess. Was how we got there. I don't know how we got there. I really do not remember how we got there.
Like Grunk
Uh,
pulls the map down and it just doesn't make any sense.
no, but the first thing I did as a director, it was me, Katie. I probably walked in and said, I'm taking over the show because I can't not like watch it be disorganized any further than it already is. But I mean, who I really don't remember. So anyway, so the first thing I did was like, we're gonna actually have auditions this time to see what people can do. We can't really deny anyone because this is like not a real show, and we will not have enough people to put on the show that we're currently writing.
Mhm.
But I was like, let's at least audition everybody to see what parts they could play.
Right.
And I would actually argue that the second year it had a lot of problems. Like it had a lot of problems.
I feel
But
like they all had a lot of problems. That seems to be the theme.
okay, but like I think the second year of all of them is probably like sort of the golden child of them all because I think it was well received. Okay, so we practiced that show every weekend, like every Sunday, I think, in Hartford, not Hartford, New Britain, your favorite town, New Britain, the one that
Mhm.
I bring
Yeah.
you to, and you're like, where the hell are we?
What is this?
And um, we would practice in the local park because there was a half shell there.
Mhm.
So anybody would come and watch us, by the way, practicing us doing whatever. Like that was the year I was playing James from Team Rocket, and I'm like dancing around doing South Park's "I'm Super,"
Yes,
and
that's the year that was the year before we met.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we practiced all that in the summer heat, and that was awful. And you know me, like I love the heat, but not necessarily with Organization 13 cosplay on.
No.
Not that's what I was wearing. Instead, I was wearing multiple layers as James, and wigs are not fun in the heat. Turns
No.
out. Um. Anyway, so we did that, and there was a lot of infighting with that too because the script writer was pretty adamant about not changing anything about her script, and then there was me and Jess just trying to alleviate the back and forth that everyone was having with her or with each other, and it was kind of like just kind of bullshit and sort of lots of people that we had cast to do roles that weren't showing up to be in the show, and I kept being like they'll be there for the actual show instead of just being like why don't we recast them. For example, my ex was supposed to play Batman, and the entire time he never showed up, and then a week beforehand he like dropped out of the show. He gave us some bullshit answer. He was like, in most shows you take the week off beforehand, and we're like that's not a thing.
Wow.
uh
Actually, you usually practice more, but okay.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna take a week off before a Broadway musical. Bye.
Okay. Okay. But so Maddie was playing. There was like three people that were playing superheroes. My friend Cal was playing Robin. Maddie was playing Wonder Woman, and my ex was playing Batman. And he dropped, and I was like, "Well, who's gonna play Batman?" And Drea's like, "I'm playing Batman. I've been playing him this entire time because he hasn't been showing up to rehearsal, so I've been doing his part the whole fucking time." So Drea was Batman. If you can just imagine an Adam West Batman as Drea, enjoy that image. Um, so anyway, like that show, I I remember there being lots of problems with it, but like not as specifically as the third show because the third show was just like crazy. But it's also the show where I met certain people that like Rachel Sostek, who was in our shows at Kineticon for several years. We met because somehow somebody knew her at CCSU, which is where we were hosting the rehearsals, and they cast her as Jessie, and she was dating Halden at the time, which is how we met Halden. And when she was like, "Well, my boyfriend kind of looks like Sephiroth if you want him to play Sephiroth." And this version of Sephiroth was doing like, "Bring it on." So that's how I met Halden. Obviously, we knew Maddie through that, and it's just like really interesting because Meg was involved with it. She was backstage with Katie, and Jess Person was there. So it was kind of like a lot of the core people that we did stuff with at Kineticon and put on really good shows. I met through this musical. The plot, by the way, for the second musical was, oh my god, it was like Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask were getting married, but Team Rocket was trying to steal whatever that crystal is that they have. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the
Like
moon crystal.
the Moon Crystal. Yeah, that's it. Sailor Moon Crystal. It's not the
Right, did you
Pluto
ever watch
crystal.
anime?
I did, but it's been a long
Ozark.
time, Katie. Listen, I'm
Ozark.
I'm old now. I am
Oh,
30.
shut up! You're old now.
I watched I watched that shit when I was 16. It's been 20 years. All right.
Ooh.
Was there a
Fuck you.
clown in here?
I'm old now.
Anyway, so it was them, and like there was for some reason there was a show being put on for their wedding, and the crystal got stolen, and there was just like a bunch of weird happenstance stuff happening. Rufus Shinra from Final Fantasy VII was putting on the show. I don't remember why that was happening, but the number that we did was really great because I don't know if you played Final Fantasy VII, but like all the little Shinra agents kept on coming out as Rufus was sitting King of Broadway for like a full 5 minutes, and
Yeah,
like
I
just
cosplayed
more.
Rufus before.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I
So
don't think I
Anime
knew
Boston,
that.
it must have been Anime Boston like 2006 or 7, back when like Final Fantasy 7 was coming around again because they had made, or whatever they made that movie, the Final Fantasy 7 movie. What was that, like 2006?
Yeah,
7?
Advent Children. I think it was like '05 around that time. Oh
Yeah,
five,
so it
oh
must have been
six.
like the year after '05, because it's definitely the year after Heaven, so '06. And I dressed up as Rufus because it was like I didn't really look like any of the other ones, and I had the black suit and everything. I just had to like show up basically, and it was
Yeah.
so funny because I was wandering around, and of course nobody like is like giving me the time of day because who the hell am I? And the only ones that really knew who I was like there was a group of some of the agents, and they walked past me and they're just like, "It's a Rufus!" And I'm like, "There it is."
I
Like,
also really like that there's like 25 agents that are part of Shinra, and like literally anybody wearing a tuxedo could just claim they were one.
yeah, yeah.
That's what was happening in this show, but it was good. Okay, so anyway, so that was the premise of the show. I have to tell you about how we set it up though. So it was in a panel room, and we actually got there early, and there was a panel happening before us, and they couldn't, like, nobody showed up for it, so they let us go get in and set up early, which was good because we actually needed that time. There was no backstage space, so we brought garment racks and threw sheets over them, which probably reminds you a lot of when we did Repo. So that was our backstage area, which somehow we all fit behind. I have no idea how we managed that because there was like 25 of us, and we didn't have like a proper like speaker or surround system. So somebody brought a boombox, which we then held a microphone to, so it would come out the speakers in the panel room. And then
Right.
we sang over that without microphones. And did a pretty good job considering that like it was really like put together. We always made jokes about the Kinetic on the Musical 2 costumes because it was all the shit that we found at like the thrift store that kind of looked like the costume we were supposed to wear. So it was like kind of like thrift musical.
Hmm.
Um so that was that year. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the year. I can't even. This year's you're gonna have to start quizzing me because I don't even if I can't even tell you. Like I
Okay.
can't even tell you. Like, all right, so
All right, look, wait. I was there for year 3, but I wasn't in it. I like to point out that I was not in any
no,
of these musicals.
no, I told you. Okay, I didn't even tell you to come see it. When I was talking to you online at the time, I was just like, please come see the Masquerade because I was kind of eyeing you to come work for us because, like, well, no, Yes, I wanted you to be a part of things, but I wasn't officially on staff yet. So I was like, "Come see the masquerade, see what we do," because
Right.
it
In
was
2008, I was in the masquerade. I didn't like I ended up being in someone's skit for the masquerade and practicing in the parking garage. But in 2008, the musical was on a Friday night and the masquerade was on a Saturday night.
right.
And I was like, crap, I have to. All right, I'll be real. The last Twilight book was coming out
Oh yeah, back to this year.
same day. It was like a midnight thing.
Oh
And
right, I know this story, but
right,
tell
and
it
I
anyway.
had reserved it in Connecticut because I had made friends with somebody at the time, ended up being a girlfriend later on. Um, Made friends with this person, and I had reserved my book at the Barnes and Noble that they were getting their book at. So we were dressed up as Edward and Bella because we were going right from the musical to go to the mall to go get our Twilight books.
So what you're telling me is that you're using that as an excuse as to why you left the musical
Oh no, I
halfway.
left because it was shit. But I'm just saying, like, the reason I didn't stay for the entire thing was because we had to get to Manchester to go get our
It
book.
was also a 3-hour long show.
Yeah,
Okay.
I stuck around for the first hour and a half, and I feel like that was
Honestly,
generous.
I didn't even tell you to come see that.
No, you
I said
didn't.
come
See, so
see the
that's like
masquerade.
right there. Like, you're lucky we're friends.
We are, we are. Well, the first two shows were maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours
That
tops.
one took forever.
I This other one. Well, okay, so basically we filled the room for Connecticut the musical too, and it was actually pretty successful. There's definitely moments where it was questionable in terms of what was happening behind the scenes, but I think we did a pretty good show. And it was like we all kind of came together on it. We made it work, and it was funny, and it was still had that sort of like vignette feeling to it because they were just kind of plucked into this plot, but at least there was a show that was being performed, so it explained why all these people were doing it to begin with.
Right.
And it was like simple. Like the jokes were very kiddie. They weren't like complicated jokes, but they were funny. It did what it was supposed to do. It filled the room. There were so many people there that we had people standing in the back, and like it was a good feeling. I felt like we had a really successful year. And Alyssa, who managed the main events at Connecticut at that year, was, I think she was like eyeing me and Maddie to be on staff, but like hadn't really approached us or talked to us about it yet. So she had come up to us afterwards and said, how was the musical last year? And we said, oh, it was standing room early. She goes, do you want to put it on a main events? I was like, oh my God, yes, yes. Because we were gonna, I don't remember what I was doing there. I think I went to a Connecticut meeting because I was getting shooed in to do something, but like I wasn't on staff, and they were asking me if because I asked them like, do you need any help with anything else? And they said, yeah, we need hosts for the masquerade. And I said, okay, but only if we do it as Team Rocket and we take over the masquerade. That's how that happened. But I think it's because I was there, because once it was confirmed that we were going to be in main events, I had to then pitch the new script to the VP, Mr. Jim Searle, which is how I really got to know Jim, was through this. That was the first conversation we ever had, actually. Oh my God. I'm losing my shit. Jim and I had never talked before. The first time I talked to him was me sitting down, be like, I need to pitch you this very serious script about Dr. Venture opening a nightclub. Oh my God.
My God, that was the plot, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Well,
Because it was
Venture
the
Brothers.
Venture. I remember. Okay,
Venture Brothers
before
was
wait,
huge
before
with
we
that.
gonna do it, before I forget, what I remember about this musical
Yeah,
was the Venture Brothers.
that was the good part.
Yep, I remembered. Zelda had a song.
That's the part that people left during.
Yep. It was an hour and a half in, and then I remember Spike and Faye.
Okay, but that's because you know all those people.
Right, and that's it. That's
You
all
just
I remember. Halden being
the
what's
monarch.
his face, the butterfly monarch. Yep, thank you.
You literally just remembered all of our friends. Okay, because Dr. Venture was Jim,
Yep,
Halden was the monarch, I was Dr. Orpheus, Maddie was Triana. So that's all the Venture Brothers characters right
yep,
there. Oh, Christina was Dean. Meg was Faye. Dave was Spike. Lindsay was Ed from
yep,
Full Metal Alchemist.
yep.
Like, so anyway, okay. Well, I'll tell you. All right. So Where the fuck are we in this story? Who
You
am I?
just told Jim that you want him to be Dr. Venture.
No, that's no, Jim Searle wasn't Dr. Venture.
Oh, I
Jim
don't know.
O'Neill was Dr. Venture, but
I'm
I was
so
pitching the
sorry.
script. I know too many Jims. My dad's name is Jim too. Great.
Irrelevant.
Ding.
Was he in
Um,
it? No.
did he come? No.
No.
Um, okay. So we pitched the script that Christina had written, and it was really long. It wasn't like her fault that it was long. It was just that we had a lot of people in the show, and we decided to give every single person in the show like their own song, which may or may not needed to happen. But the core of the script was there. And I've always thought about like what would happen if we had rewritten a little bit to cut out some of the extra characters who had not needed to be there, and I think it would have been pretty solid. Um, but that's in the past. It doesn't matter. So we were like, oh shit, we got main stage. We have to be extra professional now. And it was like, for some reason, that just turned everyone into a huge drama queen, myself included. I will not say that I was not a dick during this time because I'm sure I was. Um, and like, I remember we were trying to secure a better place to rehearse at the beginning of all this because last year I was like, if we're putting on a real musical, I don't want us to be outside at the half shell in the middle of the summer dancing around. That was just not very effective for us. So Jess, with Jess Magic, somehow worked with somebody at CCSU to procure us a quote unquote classroom to rehearse in. But really, we got the entire building to ourselves, which really dangerous considering it was like 35 nerds just running rampant on coffee and Pocky every weekend. Um, and we at least practiced inside, which was really really good. But the show itself was there was just so much drama because everybody was fighting with each other, like both during the show and outside the show. And I think it was just because we were all like 22 and we all live for drama. It's during the phase where Maddie was doing the thing. She's like, I'm super honest, so I'm just going to tell you everybody what I feel, not really care about the reactions. And I was like, me too. It was like, great. Those are inside thoughts that you're supposed to have.
Ryan, I still do that. I don't understand what the problem is.
And just there was just so much. There was a lot of shit being said about different people that I was also participating in, and everybody else is participating in. It was just not a good time. So that aside, because like listeners, I'm sorry if you're like, Ryan, you were participating, you absolutely made this happen. I'm not saying that I didn't. I 100% contributed to this problem. I'm 20. I was 22. I own my mistakes. I don't do that shit anymore. There's a reason we don't hang out with Ryan Pagella in his 20s.
I did not speak for the brand or the company.
Yeah, exactly. But that aside,
Mhm.
it was just kind of like we decided to get like we made it too complicated, and so there for some reason Jess was no longer the other director and Halden was made the other director. I don't remember who made that decision. Christina retained being the script writer. Jess was now the stage manager alongside this other guy Brian. So there was two stage managers and two directors. I don't know why. I don't know why Jess just didn't continue directing the show. I really do not remember how that happened.
Mhm.
And then Maddie became sort of the vocal director to help people learn how to sing because when we started this, a lot of people really couldn't. And I do think we made some progress on that. You may disagree hearing it from the audience, but you should have heard it from the beginning.
I trust.
And let's see. And then Rain was a choreographer alongside this other girl, Teresa, but Rain had to leave due to personal reasons, so she couldn't continue doing the show.
Mhm.
So Teresa took over that, but Teresa like never showed up on time and sometimes didn't show up at all. So like we just didn't do choreography sometimes. So eventually I started choreographing numbers, which I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that was a good idea, but and then Rachel Sostek became the other vocal coach. So now she was a vocal coach. And then and then I think Lindsay I said should be the costume designer or the makeup designer. I don't remember what it was, but it was one of those two things. And for some reason, instead of just having like one person be the director, like me or Halden or Jess, it suddenly we renamed ourselves to be the board of directors, in which there were now 10 people
On the
directing
board
the
of
show.
directors.
Oh, and nobody agreed on anything. And it was like everybody butting heads. And I kept on like trying to do things like the scriptwriter would be like, no, I don't want to change this part of the show. And I was like, well, you don't get a say in this, which was kind of like a bitchy move on my part. And I'm sorry, Christina, because that was not fair of me to do that. But also, we were all yelling at each other. So that was just that time period. And it was just like, it was just too complicated. It was too complicated. And that once when you have like, can you imagine doing a show, Katie, where there's like 9 directors telling you different things to do?
No.
like, like, wouldn't you just quit? It's a miracle nobody quit. So
No, see, I probably would have killed you all, so then I would have been the director, and it would have been fine. You
Katie
know
would have
me, I
shown.
would have put up for that shit for, like, 2.5 seconds.
We needed Katie back then.
Yeah, I've literally
Oh
been
my
like, "Where
god.
was I?"
It was like, I don't know. We also spent way too much time rehearsing the first half of the show, which is why the first half was good.
Hmm,
And
was
then
it?
it was better than the second half, which you
I
did
wouldn't know, I
not.
didn't see the second half.
The
I
second
didn't
half
realize they
was
were
like,
halves.
oh my god. And so then so basically I remember like I took the script with me to work every day, and I was working on blocking it out and writing down notes and then going back and working on it with Jess. At some point Katie Mack became like a third stage manager. It's like we needed 3 apparently.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why there were so many roles. It was, you know what it was? It was like we were trying to implement some sort of like system to make sure people were showing up on time or
Mm.
to rehearsals. Like, and so for some reason we thought that it would help if there was like 10 of us that were in charge. Did not work. Did not work.
It did not work.
Oh my god. There's so many parts of this.
Ryan, there's
Okay,
less people
Katie.
on the staff for an actual Broadway musical than this musical at Connecticut. Like, there's one stage manager probably for, like, Hamilton, and they're just like, "Hey, listen, you're either there or you're
Well,
not. That's on
yeah,
you."
I'm well aware. Okay, it was not good. And so meanwhile, we had decided that for the set, we were going to create like we wanted to be professional, so we wanted like a background. And by professional, I'm talking about like our level of professionalism was probably like middle school drama workshop
Mm,
in terms of like set pieces we were making. Um, and so we were like, well, I don't know who came up with it. It was not me, but somebody was like, what if we create a rotating set piece, which I'm sure you remember. There was like a door,
yeah,
and there's a rotating set piece door that had 4 sides. It took us like months to build. I mean, I'm pretty proud of it because like Halden used some sort of engineering magic to make it happen.
mhm,
But it was like one side was a door that was an entrance to the nightclub that we kept on using. And then I think there was like another side that was just black. Like it was just like a black background and or it was a black background that was another door. I can't remember. And then
okay.
there was another side that had 2 panels that opened up into a huge brick wall, which I cannot even begin to tell you how many fights happened over this brick wall. Like myself included. And like just in painting the brick wall, and honestly, all the fights that were happened with the brick wall are probably my own fault because I kept on coming in saying it looked like shit and upsetting everybody. So like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. There's a point where like they all worked on the brick wall and I said it wasn't good enough, and then I redid it by myself, and it was really a bitchy thing for me to have done. Uh, direct. This is like director Ryan in 2022. Like it's like 2022. 2000, oh my god, 22 years ago. No, 22. I was 22. I can't
Ryan
count.
Lord!
This is hurting my head. I was smoking cigarettes back then. I was like that stressed out over
Ryan
this
had nothing to
thing.
do with anything. I was smoking, shut up.
I
So this
I
was
started smoking cigarettes during this show and
Hey,
stopped smoking cigarettes after this show.
it was 14 years ago, honey.
Oh my god. I like how I was wrong on both. I can't math. Anyway, but so and then the other side of that set piece was like a TARDIS. Cool concept. I think we had to disassemble it to get it into the convention center and then reassemble it on the stage,
Mhm.
which was absolutely insane. The plot of this was Dr. Venture opens up a nightclub. For some reason, he's working with Edward Elric to make it happen because he's like an alchemist engineer. And
Right, he was in
that,
construction
yeah,
because Lindsay had a
right.
tool belt.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, also because Lindsay was a good actor, so we wanted her in the show.
Right.
Um, and I mean, that's really all that mattered. It's like that they opened a nightclub, and Ganondorf was the main villain because he wanted to somehow suck the power out of the city for himself because it's Ganondorf and he's the Triforce of Power. And and so, oh, and also Zelda was a performer at the club. Then there were like 16,000 other characters that had no real relevance in being there, including Faye and Spike. As much as I enjoyed them together, and as much as Meg killed it with her numbers, like she was fucking amazing. Um, Probably best voice in the show by far.
Hmm.
Um, but like they didn't need to be there. A lot of people didn't need to be in that shit. In the like in terms of characters, um, and it just it just became like such a big problem.
Okay, but it bothered
Um,
me for 14 years, Ryan. How did the show end?
oh, you want to know how it ended?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
You
there's a
don't know.
lot. I really don't remember.
You
Okay,
don't know.
so okay, no, this is actually a point of contention. Was that
It didn't end.
no the end? Well, we added a bunch of songs, and then I said at some point I was talking to everybody on the board of directors, and I was like, I think we need to cut songs from the show. Like some of these solos that don't need to be here. Like we just should cut them. It will make the show shorter. And so then I went to talk to some of the actors, some of which you know, Katie, and I won't name names.
Hmm.
Um, and they were really upset that we were cutting those numbers, and they were like, that was our only time to shine. And of course I felt bad about it, so I was like, okay, well, I guess we're keeping all these numbers then, and it's just going to be a runtime of 2.5 hours long. And then the end of the show, I remember like I don't know what happened, but it was kind of like I felt like the end of the show didn't really wrap up. Like it felt like Ganondorf just got arrested and that was it. And I was kind of like, we should have something happen here. And so I like presented an idea that was not good. It got rejected. And I screamed, and then at the time I screamed, well, we're doing my idea only. And then I think it was Rachel and Maddie were like, okay, but like, no, Ryan, we need to discuss this civilly. Um, and I was like, okay, I think the stress of the show also made me into a crazy person because it was really stressful. Like all these freaking like cosplayers that needed to be trained how to sing and dance and learn how to remember lines and like cut off the ADHD for 2 seconds and the sugar intake to like show up on time was like already a challenge enough. And also everybody arguing about what should be in the show and what shouldn't be in the show because there just was absolutely no control. It was like off the rails from day one. And we kept on adding shit. Like we kept on adding videos and things like just because it wasn't enough. We're like, let's add a scene about Dean and Hank getting sucked in the Harry Potter puppet pals world. And now we have to make puppets to do this scene. And oh, look, Katie's just totally silent.
I'm waiting for you to tell me how it ends because it hasn't ended yet.
Okay, so we came up with this idea for a fight scene that would happen, and so
Sure.
I'll show you the video sometime because like I can't even describe it. Like somebody shoots a gun, somebody else falls down, somebody like throws a spell book. I think that was me. I don't know, but it ends with Ganondorf getting arrested and Drea delivering a line that I think she came up with, in which she said, "You're going into the water temple. You're never going to get out of there." Which facts if you played a Zelda game,
Fact.
and and then it ends.
That's it.
Well, Link and Zelda do hook up. I'm telling you, there was no.
Ryan.
I don't. There was a cohesive plot at the beginning, which is why I always think about it. I'm like, I feel like if we had given it one more rewrite, and if we were the people that we are now in our 30s, and with all the experience that we had, we could also probably talk civilly and collaborate in such a way where we could have like come up with a different version of this show
So
that
you
cut
know
out
that
a lot of
show
bullshit.
Encore on Disney Plus?
No.
Oh, you've never heard of this? Okay. So they can't do it right now because of COVID and everything, but there was a show when Disney Plus opened up. It was called Encore. And it was Kristen Bell. And she went back to like people's high schools and like took like the class of 2000 or the class of like 89 and had them put on their senior musical.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like this screams it needs to be on Encore.
I gotta show you the full video. It's really funny. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so it just ends. There wasn't like an official ending. We had Doctor Girlfriend singing "Don't Stop Believing" for
Mhm.
the final number for the bow line,
Sure,
the curtain line.
sure. Because that
it
makes no sense.
The second of the show really didn't make any kind of sense, and I don't really remember what happened. Like there was just a lot of jokes that we were trying to shoe in, but I don't know. Oh my god, can I tell you about the scene? Okay, wait. So there was a number in there where Jess got to sing "In the Dark of the Night" from Anastasia as Ganondorf,
Okay,
and
that's pretty
like
cool though.
it was cool, and Jess, of course, is Jess, and she was awesome with it. And we kept on being like, okay, so we need costumes to be the ghosts, two Staphos skeletons, and like the Keese bats. And Halden was like, okay, everyone's just gonna wear all black, and I'm gonna make puppets for everyone to wear. Except like he didn't, or he did, but like kind of last second. So the on stage, all you could see was like Maddie and this other guy, like clearly standing on stage, holding tiny little balls at the end of their hands, which are supposed to be the bats that you couldn't see. So it just looked like they were waving their fingers around. While I think Christina, no, a different. I think Tina was one of the Staphos and Dante was another Staphos, and they just had like they were in all black with just the rib cages
Mhm.
for the skeletons, and that was it. They didn't look like skeletons beyond that. And then Drea and I were ghosts, full costume, with this like mesh that we couldn't see out of because the pose have no face. So, and we were doing like a ballet number around it. And I remember during the rehearsal, I was like, everyone needs to go where they're supposed to go because Dre and I cannot see. So if you are in the wrong place, somebody's going to get hurt.
Great.
You have to watch the number. It's so bad.
Apparently I do.
It's just like Dre and I spinning around with more people who just like people wearing all black, waving their fingers around. Well, just dramatically, like does this amazing performance in the middle of all this bullshit.
Oh my god. Okay, so
Um,
how did you guys get a 4th year? Like, people loved it, obviously.
well, we weren't involved with the fourth year, so
Oh, what?
no. So okay, after that, we had the masquerade that brought in a lot of the core people from the show that we had just done. Like, so Maddie came and did it with us, and Rachel was Jesse, Tina was Meowth, Halden was I don't know what the hell he was. He was like he just became the stage manager of the masquerade, and so like basically all the core people that you know from Connecticut that we did all of our shows with for the following 7 years
Mhm.
came from that show. But like we're like the people that we worked really well with. Um, and I think over the years we brought more people in, like Justin Drea and Lindsay. Well, Lindsay was there at the beginning, but they saw what we did. They being Kineticon, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to like? We like what you did with the musical. We like what you did with the masquerade. Do you want to be on staff?" And we said yes. And so that's when I took over all the cosplay events and joined in with Devin and organizing those. So the here's the thing: Kineticon the musical was never endorsed by Kineticon. It was just put on at Kineticon and called Kineticon the musical. It
Affiliated
was
without being affiliated.
it wasn't really even affiliated. It was only affiliated in name because us as in the musical chose to do that. It wasn't because Kineticon asked us to name it that. It wasn't called Cosplay Musical, which would have made more fucking sense. It was called Kineticon Musical.
Hmm.
And so we left. So Jess, myself, and Halden were no longer involved with the show. So that took out like a chunk of the directors. Like everybody who we did that Batman show with,
Mhm.
like they were no longer in the musical. So they were all in our show now.
Got it.
And then continued to grow with that when we were doing like the dating game and the masquerade and the game shows and chess and battleship and all the things that we came up with.
Which were all
Uh,
really surprisingly very good.
well, because at that point, it was a lot of people that were professional and were committed, and like we had done the musical, so we knew who was going to show up and do a good job and who wasn't. And
Right.
it's not to say that the people who didn't do a good job, or I guess that's let me rephrase that. It's not to say that the people who were in it didn't do a good job, so much as that the standards were different once when we were like in a much more professional setting.
Mm.
And like a lot of these kids, like they were just doing it to have fun. We were, and honestly, when I look back at that time period, I'm like, we were trying to force upon them this like high end professional musical performance that none of them had experienced it. They just wanted to do something fun and hang out with their friends and get some spotlight time because they didn't in their normal lives. That checks out. And I don't feel like anybody did a bad job. I feel like there are a lot of people that weren't meant for musicals necessarily or acting, but like I don't know, it was never supposed to be professional in the first place, and we were taking it way too seriously. So Connecticut then continued on with at least two more musicals um, that went back to the original directors of the first show who quit because of all the drama that was happening during the second show and didn't come back for the third show because they were mad at us. Um, and I really don't remember what any drama was about because we were like in our early 20s, and that's the time of our lives where everything's a problem.
Mm.
um and they took back over the show and brought in a bunch of new people, and some of the old cast that didn't come up to do like the masquerade with us were still in that show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a whole other point of contention because Christina had written this other script that was going to be the following year about like a high school doing a talent show and putting up, and like there being a mystery involved with it. Honestly, it's unfortunate it never happened because that would have been a great show. I think that would have, of all the plot lines we had, that one made the most sense. um, and it didn't happen. And then since the new directors took over, they obviously didn't want Christina to be part of the show. And so they went ahead and did the show with her script anyway,
Huh.
which became a huge point of contention. Um, And they also did what we did where, like, how we always integrated videos that we'd shoot beforehand and like put into the musical, or like not the musical, but like any of our videos that we did, like the trailers or
Right.
pieces that would happen during the masquerade. Well, we first did that during the third musical and then continued that trend for Connecticut. Something that Connecticut was known for was having like the video as part of the performance. And they then copied us because they were like, well, they did a previous year, so we're gonna do it too. So that was also a point of contention, but I didn't really have a problem with that because I was like, well, whatever. I mean, like they're being creative, and like I obviously support the idea of integrating those two things together. And I was so removed from the musical at that point that I just didn't really care what the musical was doing.
Didn't it get
Um,
shut down the fourth year?
the fourth year they did not. They did a musical and it was way longer than the allotted panel time the panels had given them, and they just were going to continue performing past that and not respect that time period. um or that's what's been told to me. It's entirely possible that they just ran out of time and they were not disrespectful about it, because I know they then shot the end of the show and put it on YouTube so people could see the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
um and that was that. I can't remember if there was a fifth or a sixth year. Like I don't remember how far it got down the line. I feel like they had one more show at Connecticut,
I
and
thought it
then
got shut down.
it did eventually, but I don't know if it was the fifth or sixth one that got shut down because like I was very removed from that. I was on staff and
But I want to say it
the
was the fifth year because I remember it being a thing. Because like our fifth year, let's see, the third year I went, I wasn't part of the staff. The next year was the fourth year, and I was part of staff. So I did dating game and we did masquerade. So our fifth year was the year after the Torchwood year. So what dating game was that?
2009.
Was that Buffy?
No, that was 20. Buffy was 2011. So if you're thinking that it's 2011, that tracks with what I think.
No, I'm thinking it was 2010.
2010 was Futurama.
Yeah, that was the disaster year. So it was like I remember because everything was going to shit that year. I'm
Really?
pretty sure I remember it being like a hot topic that they had to shut down the musical because it
Oh,
was.
right. Well, that then it was 2011 that they. Okay, so this is crazy. This is all I know because I was removed from it and I had been asked, because everybody was trying to drag me back in terms of like, do you know what the musical's doing? Blah blah blah. Like, can you get in touch with them and like, what's your opinion on these things? Because the musical was then doing a lot of weird shit, and
Mhm.
I was like a lot of inappropriate stuff in terms of like content that was not child friendly or family friendly, I should say, and like just kind of like not respectful in a lot of ways. And they were like, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this? I was like, I can't give you my thoughts because I don't want to be responsible for this thing getting shut down. Like, because they're just going to come and they're going to be mad at me. And like, I had nothing to do with it, but they know that I'm on staff, and they'll probably have thought that I had something to do with it. And of course I didn't. Like, why would I? Like,
We had enough
uh,
going on.
we were we were directing like 6 other shows at the time. We did not have time to think about this. So this is what was happening though, is that they were creating like this non-friendly content. And I don't remember who talked to me, if it was Alyssa, Jim, or Kristen, because Kristen was getting involved with panels, and she was one of the people that was involved with making the decision on whether or not panels would make it in.
Hmm.
Um, I think it ultimately came down to Rim and Scott, but Kristen was sort of the face of panels because they were not located in Connecticut, so they couldn't go to meetings. Um, and so all I remember is that there was a couple of questionable things that came up that made them ask me, like the staff asked me. It was either Jim. I swear to God, it was Jim. I would think it was Jim or Kristen being like, "Hey, what do you think of this? Because we don't really necessarily like that they're doing these things and it's being associated with the Kineticon name, because they're calling it Kineticon the musical, and they're like, this would look really bad for the con." And I was like, well, I agree. And like, I'm like, they're like, do you have any incriminating evidence that they could be doing anything? And I was like, no. Like, but I did say, I was like, anything that could be a problem that you would need to address with them is probably right there on their YouTube channel, because they're not hiding it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, if you have a problem with it and you're like looking to see what they're doing, go take a look. Um, and so they did. And also I did, like, arbitrarily, because like after I said that, it's like, I don't know what I'm sending them to. So then I was like, all right, I looked it up. So do you remember when Billy Mays died?
Yeah.
Okay, so Billy Mays died, and they released a trailer like somewhere in the vicinity of that happening, with
Hmm.
somebody cosplaying Billy Mays
Yep.
and going, "Come see the musical. I'm Billy Mays here. Come see the musical." Blah blah blah. And he like swore a couple times. I think I was like, "Oh no!" And do you know how that video ended? It ended with the entire cast coming in and throwing him to the ground and kicking the shit out of him.
I remember it. That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure it was 2010.
You're probably right. But I remember like that was the year that they did that. And like I was like, holy shit. I said to Daddy, and Maddie was like, I can't even believe this is like real. Like I was like, I don't know. Like this is not in good taste. It's disrespectful. And so the way that Kineticon the musical, aside from the one that we did in main events, because Alyssa had asked me specifically to do it in main events, all the other years you had to apply, like the director or whoever was in charge applied to do the musical in a panel room every year. And you know how panels are. You apply to do a panel, and it either makes it in or it doesn't.
Right.
And so they released that video of Billy Mays, and pretty much everybody on his staff said, we're not letting the musical be here at all. We don't care if they change their name. They cannot be here. They're clearly out of control. They clearly have no boundaries or respect for anyone.
Right.
We're
And
shutting
didn't
it.
they take over like an empty panel room?
I don't know about that.
I
I
swear to
don't
God, I thought they like ended up like they got shut down because I'm pretty sure they ended up like in an empty panel room or something. I thought that's what happened.
Probably, because what happened is that I know that they turned to me and they said that once when the panel confirmations went out, the musical did not get one.
Hmm.
And which is kind of shitty in retrospect, because like they didn't get, like, these kids had probably been practicing for a while and then found out that they weren't allowed to perform their show. But the people didn't also, like, whoever was in charge didn't really contact anybody on staff about it that I know of. Maybe they did, and I, like, again, I said I don't want to be involved. I don't want my opinion to sway what happens and what doesn't happen, because at that point, I think, like, we had been working at Kineticom for a few years, and I felt pretty confident and solid and learning how to be a lot more professional than I was during Kineticon the Musical 3.
Hmm.
And like as the years went on and we were getting more and more experience, like come on, by the time 2014 rolled around, we were like fucking pros.
It
And
was a clockwork.
It was, and, like, we knew what was okay, like, what to say in the business and what not to say because we weren't 22 anymore. We were, like, in our mid to late 20s, so it was a different feeling, like, we were a lot more professional than we were at, like, 22, and so I don't know what happened, and I just as the years went on, I was like, I don't want you to come. I don't want to I don't want my opinion involved because I feel like that's not fair, and I don't want that somehow coming back and being biting me in the ass. In similar ways that you don't want certain conventions biting you in the ass, and so and so they got canceled. And I do know that they eventually. I don't know if they took over Panel Room. You're probably right about that. I wouldn't put it past them, and they probably got shut down.
I that's what I remember. I could be wrong, but
I hope you're not
I
confusing it when we got shut down because that crazy dude who ran into the auditorium. So yeah, that guy like got fired that year. But anyway, um, but that guy was not supposed to shut down all the events when he did. It was the end of that story. Uh,
oh god,
but
Futurama year.
that's a whole different podcast.
That we can't even get into it. It makes me so upset. Anyways,
So they put the show on YouTube, and I think you can go. I'm going to Google it right now. I'm going to go on YouTube and write Kinetic on the Musical and see if they still have a channel. I bet they do. I don't think they would take it down because why would they?
hide their shame. I don't know.
I can only find ours, the one that I put up. I guess they don't have it up anymore. Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, oh no, here it is. I found it. Yeah, like all the videos. Okay, so they got to part 5. Okay, so they did 5. Okay, so I was right. They did 4 and 5, right? Those were after the years that I was there, right?
Okay.
And then they got shut down on 6 because they have musical part 5 here, and it's in the panel room.
Okay. So that must have been 6 was the year that it was like that I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. So
And there we are.
right, I mean, it is what it is. Like, what can you do? But it's like here's the moral of the story. You can't take a bunch of nerds and train them how to sing and dance and act if they've never had any training before and try to put on a musical with 35 of them. It's never going to work. And for the devil's advocate here, I think it's fair to say that these kids were trying. Even the ones that were obnoxious and not showing up on time and like goofing off, I think they were doing the best they could for something that was not as professional to them as it was to us because we were trying to make it in something professional because that's what we wanted it to be. And then those of us who wanted that wound up on staff directing several other musicals. And these other kids, I think they just wanted to have a good time. And unfortunately, as most nerds go and nerd stories, is that like there's a lot of boundaries that got broken, a lot of sort of social not disawareness, I guess, on things that's you're not supposed to do and are supposed to do, what's okay and what's not okay. And for the musicals I was there and part of, I do think everybody tried, and I do have lots of wild memories about them. But at the end of the day, like I think everybody wanted the same result. Everybody wanted to put on a show, and I think everybody tried their best considering. And maybe I'm being really charitable in this,
Sorry.
but
I was there like there's gonna be a conclusion. I'm like, yeah, you are.
but like
Sorry, I don't mean to be a dick. I'm like, as a person that had to sit through it, it was like I was so happy to see all of my friends. All of my friends did a great job. The people that were there, I knew they were trying. You know in your mind that they're trying, but honestly, the whole thing felt from
I
the
would.
viewer's standpoint like a shit show.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, I'm really curious, like what you actually enjoyed from the show you saw, because I'm sure there was something you liked, or what you didn't like. What do you even remember?
Well, guys, it's been great this week. Continue on.
Oh my god.
Like, honest to God, Ryan, I don't. I remember my friends. I remember there were songs. I remembered I was trying to figure out what the plot was. I didn't know what the plot was. And then someone goes, "Hey, we got to get to Manchester." I was like, "Well, shit, we got to go." I
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, honestly, probably for the best. And like I said, and then all I remember after that is that like they tried to put it on a few more times, and then that whole year where they literally tried to take over a panel room and it got shut down. And
Yep,
that's it.
yep, yeah. So, I mean, I feel like there's so much more to the story that I could probably tell, but I feel like I hit all the important parts of like the moral is people don't put on a musical, don't put on a huge professional show with a bunch of people that don't have experience doing that and expect it to be like mind blowing because it's not going to be. It's just gonna look like some of the worst masquerade skits. They're just like strung together for 2.5 hours.
But also, most panel rooms are only allotted for an hour, so make sure you take that into consideration when you're writing your showstopper. Okay. Well, Ryan, again,
Also, do have a board of 13 directors.
right. Again, thank you so much for coming on, dear. Is there anything you'd like to promote while you're here?
Yeah, you could go listen to my podcast, The Mutant Ages, where we break down every adaptation of the X-Men ever and the metaphors of or sort of the queer metaphors of the X-Men and other LGBTQ politics. That is my main gig. And if you like theme parks and adventure, you can go find my YouTube channel, which is my name at Ryan Pagella. You will not find any cosplay musical or performances for me because I don't think I've done anything in years. I would like to return and do something with you, Katie, but it's been a while. It's been a hot second.
It's been quite a moment. And then, like, as soon as we rectified all of our situations, COVID hit. So it's probably the universe's way of saying, nah.
No, it's the universe's way of saying take some time to heal your shit.
The universe. Damn you,
Yeah.
universe. You know what? If you're gonna promote stuff here, you might as well promote like our other little YouTube channel that has some of our past stuff on it.
Oh my god, I think this is the first time we're talking about it on this show.
It
Okay,
is.
so Katie and I obviously have worked on many cosplay shows and shows in general together, and I have compiled as many of them as I could find, and as many that I had footage for into a YouTube channel called Cosplay Cabaret. So you can go and see almost all of these, except for the one that we talked about, the dating game.
Both of those dating games are gone.
Yeah, the date.
Sure, you have video of the third cosplay musical, but don't we have footage of Torchwood?
Yeah, but you can find everything else up on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
all the catapult episodes, all of our masquerades.
well, Catapult's on a different channel, but you can find that, and we're gonna save that for a different episode. So,
Yeah. Good lord. All right. Well, thanks so much again, Ryan, for coming on, guys. We've only got a few more episodes till the 1 year special. Woo! 1 year.
woo!
So yeah, make sure you look forward to that. And we're also at this moment in time only 79 subscribers away from 3,000 downloads.
Wow!
So as soon as we hit
Congratulations!
3,000, someone's going to a convention for free on me. So download, listen, tell your friends, tell your wives, tell everybody to listen in, and make sure you tune into Ryan's podcast as well. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.